Hello, welcome. Good to see you back on the COLMA branch. Yep, we're all still alive, still kicking. Things are going good. Enjoying life. Anyway, today I thought I'd do something a little bit different, kind of share some of my interest in it. But like all kids, you know, we all like trains growing up, just like my good friend Frank, who lived up in COLMA, which is going to be one end of my line. And I'm going to be at the other end of the line down in South City. Not too far apart, a few miles. But anyway, the history of this line starts way back in 1862. The original line out of San Francisco was built by the San Francisco and San Jose Railroad. And back in 1869, I think they finished it up. The SP bought it out in 1870, and it served as their main line up the peninsula right into town around San Bruno Mountain. So anyway, with that much, the red line there coming down through is the original line that came down from town. The yellow line we'll talk about later is SP's Bayshore Cutoff that they built in 1907. So here's the story. As we look at the red line, the original line coming out of town, you can see they fought the topography of this town, rather tortuous, back and forth, curving, getting up, all going uphill until they got up to a point called Ocean View, which is really the north shoulder of San Bruno Mountain, and then wound around the mountain down into Daly City, down through COLMA, and then back toward the bay at South City. So, with that large mountain, you can really understand that kind of made sense. But in 1907, the SP under E.H. Harriman decided, this isn't really too good. And they decided to build what they called the Bayshore Cutoff up the east side of the mountain along the bay, which was much more level, more direct, cut off miles, and really a lot easier to run. They double-tracked it, and it was quite the thing to see. So, with the Bayshore Cutoff up and running, the old line, just wasn't needed that much anymore, and it became abandoned bit by bit, cut back years after years, decades after decades, because few customers on the line. And it happened to run right through the middle of town, and people didn't like that for a whole lot of different reasons. But by the time I came around, pretty much what was left was from Daly City down to South City. So, I want to talk just a bit about the abandonments that occurred over the years in these different sections of the old line, and kind of focus on some things. The area in green actually stayed in service until 1991. SP still did some switching up Harrison Street, and a retired Southern Pacific switchman, Bill Cassidy, took some great shots, and I'm really glad he did. And he just wanted to share them with everyone, and I want to pass them along as well, because this is what it looked like right up into the early 90s, where rail traffic was still served. We lost the cement place there on the right, but, this is looking south down Harrison Street, which will go straight on down. In the old days, a good shot of steam engine double, triple heading, I guess, right up Harrison. It was a pretty good grade up to 22nd Street here, where it curved and went off in between all those buildings, and then headed up and through the Mission District. Now, this was the end of the line for a bit, but anyway, the real story in the Mission District, the line pretty much ran right diagonally through the whole neighborhood. You can see how cramped it was, and you can imagine why many people didn't want to see the train anymore. There's a couple of good shots that way. Here's, after abandonment, kind of what was left, but you get the idea. Now, what really severed this line was this bridge over Dolores Street was taken out, and as you can see, they took all the steel out of that and put it toward the war effort. With the Dolores Street bridge out of action. Then the line to the south and to the north, pretty much left to sit there and abandoned in place. So this is north of the bridge, and it was up on a berm and ran through the neighborhoods and worked its way up to a place where the SB had to cut through another little mountain situation called the Burnow Cut. Picture of the early cut, the original line through it. Later on, they really widened this all out to bring a highway down through it and allow the railroad to still continue to run. But after some years, this line was essentially cut off here too, since there was nothing further to the bottom of the picture to serve. But one industry was left, Ray Oil Burner, which we still remember cars being set out to that. But anyway, that all disappeared after 1942. Here's Ray Oil Burner, which was one of the last remaining customers on the southern portion of it. This is kind of the Elkton shops of the Market Street Railway, later to be the Muni. And here's a train shoving a new trolley car into the Elkton shops. The kids still riding the flat cars, I guess quite the occasion. Another shot there, but a little gravel place, Bodie Gravel, to the left, still being served from the south, coming up from San Bruno. Another shot, there was a small lumber yard up that way, and it still saw service. And yet another picture right in that same vicinity. Another shot up above Balboa Park. This is going underneath old San Jose Avenue. 280 freeway rolls right through here now, so even though you can still see one of the retaining walls of that bridge, the freeway is now right here where you're looking back down the track, looking toward the south. All this has disappeared underneath an interstate freeway, as is this view. Pretty good shot of the train coming back south to San Bruno, heading along its way, and on its way around San Bruno Mountain. Later shots, an NW2 coming down with, that's actually a caboose, a boxcar conversion, with a train south of San Jose Avenue. A shot up at Ocean View, which was, like I said, on top of the grade. But years later, this line was all abandoned too, and it was cut right pretty much at the Daly City-San Francisco border. So, by the time I came around, this was about all that was left of this line. So, a little shot of what I'm modeling, and the different cemeteries and buildings and so on that I'm hoping to model. I'm just putting up on the picture there. I'll go through a few of those things and give you an idea of what I'm trying to get going on it. So a preliminary plan, just to get an idea how I might lay it out, look something like these two attempts. And what I've done is pretty close to that. So that got me going. Here we see a picture coming up past Cypress Lawn and the duck pond. A gentleman named Tom Gray made this photo a long time ago. Like I say, the train was there first. The cemeteries came later. I'll get into that in another, another episode. But this is the columbarium at Cypress Lawn, and my attempt to recreate it. So we'll get that set up above Duck Pond. I love modeling in styrene, as you can see here. A lot of fun. If you take your time, you can get some stuff that pretty well reproduces the picture you're looking for. There's a trial run, seeing Alco S2 bringing something down the old caboose on the line past Columbarium. Duck Pond will be right down below that. So, heading downhill from the cemeteries, we're going to flip around, come back up the other way, and we pass the gate at Cypress Lawn. A great old picture of a Fairbanks Morse switcher pulling its caboose past this fancy gate. Still there. Beautiful structure. So I had to include it. So here's my attempt. Again, more styrene, some wooden stuff I found. I was going to put that there. Past that gate, we're going to get up to a little area where used to be a trestle here. It looks like this now. The train used to be up there by that fence. Anyway, it used to be a trestle. They filled in everything. But I decided, let's go back, get the trestle in there. And Olivet Cemetery actually kind of disguised it and made it a nice looking gateway into the cemetery. There's a train going by. Continuing on up the hill are Fairbanks Morse switchers going over a bridge that went over El Camino Real, the old San Jose Road. Long ago, it looked like this, kind of a narrow little roadway and 40-line streetcar tracks coming underneath it. This area was known as the bottleneck. As you can imagine, more and more cars. But then in 1930, El Camino got widened and SB built a new bridge over El Camino, which I'm going to try and model. So, with that, I went to the drawing board, a couple of plans. I decided to make this whole thing kind of a unit, and then I'd slide it underneath that with the bridge section yet to come. And then I got that kind of put together, and that's where it is unpainted. Preliminary painting, and just a shot of the train coming through. A good shot of the steam engine up above it. I thought it came out pretty good. So, got to add a few more things to this, do a little bit more weathering. I'm going to be pretty pleased. I want to add, of course, a 40-line streetcar underneath it. So, got that put together and put it on there. Kind of takes the mystery out of one railroad going over another. And then, off the bridge, we're going to continue on up beyond Woodland Cemetery. And I've had a lot of fun with this building. So I'm going to give you a couple of shots of the progress I made on it. This is a real thing. And this is my attempt to bring it all together. So, bit by bit, worked out good. I like it. Kind of challenging. In fact, some of it was really challenging, but the roof was interesting. I'll just leave it at that. A few swear words might come into the picture if I say anything more. But it came together. And of course, the roof and supports for it, cutting out different pieces, trying to put together on this thing. So bit by bit, kind of working out. So, some things that are yet to come, I'll share with you some ideas. There's a little streetcar stop at Cypress Lawn, chapel up above the gate. I'll try and get that included. Neat building. Got a little used model I'm using now, but we'll get to more. Have to add in another cemetery or two. Salem Memorial Park here. Train actually came right down through the back of this. So I'm going to model that. I actually bought palm trees for this one. I didn't think I could do those. Anyway, that's where it crossed the road. And their little mausoleum in front, I'll add that in there. And of course, set it amongst the palm trees that are there. Up the road farther behind will be some buildings for Olivet Cemetery. I don't know if I can fit them in or not, but hope so. There's a cool station up on Hillside Boulevard. A streetcar actually came up to this point. The COLMA Historical Society is there now. And then, of course, Holy Cross Cemetery, we'll get that in there. Someone kidded me about having to buy a whole lot of tombstones, but we'll see what we can do. And then, of course, their depot, which is an absolute must. I shared this with you before, but really cool. Really glad it's still there. It's empty. Hope someone does something with it. And then odds and ends buildings in the area. This has been refurbished as a veterans home. And, of course, old Malloy's. You can't have that area without Malloy's being there. So that's it for now. Thanks for coming in, and hope to see you again.